After so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear, I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound.
Peace and love, peace and love. Welcome to the NAPPC podcast. We are the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with
Abdul-Haq.
Today, as we continue our series on Martyrs, this October being Martyrs Month, we focus on Grenada's Maurice Bishop, a revolutionary, professional revolutionary who gave his life for his people's self-determination. He was the leader of he was the head of the People's Revolutionary Government, and he was the leader of the New Jewel movement. So we got to understand what does that mean in terms of what level of commitment he had to moving his people forward, to protecting their interests. Now, Grenada, because of its location, it's an area where those who seek to have power and influence throughout that particular area, they want to have that control of that particular place and its resources. So we had centuries of exploitation. We had after the exploitation comes those who claim to be for the people, but in actuality, they have their own ulterior motives. One such person who had got overthrown by the revolutionaries is Eric Gary. In fact, Eric Gary had sent his followers out to another place to specialize in torture. So just to let you know the type of mindset this dictator had. And also he he was used by those for their own interests. And in 24 hours, the revolutionaries overthrew him, and they went to work, and they instituted a new system, a system that was beneficial to common people. And the common people, they were being educated. Because one of the things that colonialism does is keep people illiterate so that they can accept their conditions. But Brother Abdul-Haq Islam, in preparation of us honoring Maurice Bishop, we honor him in theory and in practice, because me and you are part of the Northeast Political Prisoners, also the December 12th movement. So this is part of our work, but this is not exclusive to our work. So, it's theory and practice, because practice is essential to making things in the interest of common people.
Brother Maurice Bishop, as in the case of other revolutionaries and martyrs, bring to our consciousness the beauty and value of revolutionaries, how revolutionaries bring about change. The spirit of the revolutionaries, their character, or who they are as human beings. These are things that we learn. This is part of our educational process. During the period of time when Grenada was under the control and the dictatorship of the European enemy, it was British that eventually, gained control. There was a squabble between the British, the Spanish, and the Dutch. Eventually, the British took control. This makes me, when I hear Black people trying to put on a British accent or put on a French accent, or I am French, or I am Britain, it made me want to vomit. When we read about what these folks have done to our people, like I said, the nation was under the control of the British at the time that the New Jewel movement grew and overthrew the cruel dictator Eric Gary, and as in the case of revolutionaries, we studied the results of revolution. We'll see benefits that the revolution brought to the people, such as interest-free loans, low-cost building for people's houses,
free education,
medical care,
and I think
college.
Even the sisters' role in the government was different.
Yeah. Right? The stopping of the ending of the exploitation and victimization of women. For example, Jacqueline Kreft, a sister, became the Minister of Education in Grenada. She was one of the people who was assassinated with Brother Maurice Bishop. So Maurice Bishop did a speech at Hunter College, and one thing that he brought out, you understand, was how attractive Grenada was for Black people, and it attracted Black people in America, to Grenada. And 4 months later, the brother was assassinated, and there was much turmoil in the country, and the U.S. Under Ronald Reagan, the very, very poor actor, one of our less gifted actors, he invaded the country, and the country only had 100,000 people at the time, and he bombed the nation, and great destruction to the people, and it's a terrible war crime. Later on, the airport that was built was named after Maurice Bishop. When it was being built, Reagan tried to claim that it was going to be some type of base for the Soviets, which is totally unfounded. No evidence whatsoever of that. But Maurice Bishop has a legacy in the nation, a love for the people. Let me see. I got a quote from him.
And while you find that quote, I just want to say that Grenada was able to get this airstrip done with the support mostly of Cuba, and I think that
Right.
When we look at those relationships, we have to understand the power and importance of building allies, of not thinking that you're going to do everything by yourself. You definitely need support. But when people of a different ideological system come together, then those imperialist powers feel threatened and want to interrupt. They want to undermine a people's development. They want to disrupt the people's self-determination. Right? All human beings, all nations have a right to be self-determined And that is the same with Grenada. So when we look at Maurice Bishop and him being assassinated at the age of 39, we understand when he first took that position, he understood what was on the line. Maurice Bishop is just like our political prisoners, our U.S. held political prisoners. When I say our, I'm talking about our politics.
He was in prison, assassinated.
Right. So prior to his assassination, he was in prison, right? You get captured, and then now you in front of a firing squad, and that's how you're executed. So prior to your execution, you are a political prisoner. So, but my point is that he understood what was at risk, and he wasn't afraid. In fact, one of his quotes is, "Revolutionaries do not have the right to be cowards. We have to stand up to fight for our country because the country is ours. It does not belong to anybody else." So that statement alone lets you know his ideology, his ideological views, and what he was very committed to, what he understood, and what he was not willing to compromise with. And that's the same way our political prisoners are. You have our brothers and our sister Joy Powell, and our brother Kamal Siddiqui, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, Umar Abu Jamal, and others, right? And they are currently in prison, and we have to do our job to bring them home. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is do some serious organized work, because this is part of our right to self-determination. We have a right to fight back because our self-determination is being attacked, and we're being underdeveloped because of our self-determination being attacked.
But right on, I got that. Okay, so in the speeches and the quotes by Maurice Bishop, we see his spirit, his personality, who he was. When will imperialism learn? Yes, they can kill our bodies, but they can never kill the spirit of a people fighting for their liberation. So this shows his love, his determination, to fight, and nothing can stop this, in spite of the overwhelming material equipment that the enemy had, that spirit cannot be crushed, something that the enemy, the enemy cannot destroy the fighting resistance of the revolutionary, this, his spirit, who he is, is in his quotations, all right, in his quotations. They can never kill the spirit of the people fighting for their country and fighting to push their country forward. Okay, so as I said before, the enemy, Eric Gary, had a very, very cruel, a dictator,
Yeah, in fact, he said he had a divine right to his rule.
Yeah, he talk about God was on his side. I dig that. These fools, God, God on the side of a murderer, of a puppet for Europe, exploiter of the people, Grenada, was part of a economic triangle. They went to Africa to kidnap Africans, brought them to Grenada, worked them, sold the goods on an international trade, and God, they said God is down with that. God is down with dictatorship, murder. They didn't say anything crazy. So this is the nature of these people. But like the brother said in his speeches, nothing can stop us.
Absolutely.
And this is the type of revolutionary spirit that must grow in our people. In spite of the reactionary attempts to turn our people into the enemies of one another, haters of one another, kill your brother, murder your sister, tricks and deceptions and all these type of things. Revolution, overcomes all this. So it's very, very important that we study revolution and the works of revolutionaries, that stand up fearlessly. One thing the brother talked about was, not being a coward, being fearless, and that is a very, very great, inspiring thing, because one of the strategic priorities of the enemy is to make you a coward, to make you bow down,
to make you feel defeated,
to feel like ain't nothing you can do, that is, become hopeless and helpless, like a dog that is chained to a radiator and given electric shocks. And then when you remove the chain, the dog will stand there and won't even move when electric shocks administered, because he has learned to be hopeless and helpless. Revolutionaries are exactly the opposite of that. They learn to fight. Their spirit is the fight. So in spite of the fact that the so-called powers that be don't want us to study this type of material, wants to keep it hidden from us, want to control our education. We control our own education. We're the masters of our education. We have to be masters of everything, the masters of our economics, of our education. To build for ourselves, to build our own institutions. This is the spirit of revolution. And we're strong people, and without a doubt, we're going to be successful.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted us to go back on is how they made revolution in 24 hours, and there was only 2 people killed. So it was done in a way where it was smooth, it was calculated, and it was effective regarding their tactics, their methods in which they would come to power. And as they came to power, as we did our research, we looked at a documentary, and in the documentary, one of the recipients of the revolution said that one of the beneficiaries of the revolution said that it increased in quantity and quality. And I think that that's very important for us to understand that, this brother, he was part of a group, and his leadership, his vision for his country was taken very seriously. And those who were part of making revolution decided that, they were going to play their positions and change their reality. Maurice Bishop, like our political prisoners, had a deep passion, a deep love for his people, willing to accept the responsibility of being a revolutionary, and wasn't afraid to be imprisoned because of his views, or even killed because of his views. And I think that we have to honor that. And we have to honor that more in practice than just saying we respect and honor somebody, right? You might have some scholarships or a street named after a particular revolutionary, but what about doing the work? What about continuing that work, right? So we need to take those ideas and manifest them in different places to let other people understand that a person like him is not going to be forgotten. The brother Abu Haq,
Well, you call for the crime.
No. So I'm just thinking about, Maurice Bishop and, his role in Grenada and his inspiration for others, because he described the population as being over 90%. So when you have a population of people of African descent that's over 90%, right, that's going to be a threat internationally. Those who are in power, those imperialists, do not want others to get inspiration from that. They don't want you emulating them and being a threat to them, because that's the only reason why the United States would invade Grenada, is that to see a black nation rise like that would be a threat to their power internationally. So we have to understand the seriousness of that. And that's why with the struggle with bringing Mumia home, it's so hard and so challenging, rather, because of what he and people like him represent in terms of their ideas, right? They're a constant threat. They say certain ideas, and those who are in power feel threatened because these ideas can catch on. What amazed you mostly about Maurice Bishop?
Well, like his love for the people, his activism, to stand up. One thing that is very amazing is, you talk about, there's this illusion that those who work for the enemy, they have so much power, that they are so invincible. But like you said, they were overthrown in a day.
Right, exactly.
And revolutionaries always talk about the power of the people. I mean, when you talk about the power of millions and millions and millions of people, and as more and more people obtain political education and gain knowledge of the weakness of the enemy, how the enemy is defeated, in various revolutions around the world, then the revolutionary spirit grows, and people begin to study revolution and how to make revolution, and become confident in themselves. It's one thing that Brother Maurice Bishop had was great confidence in his in the ability of the people, to overcome, had great love for the people, and this is the legacy of Maurice Bishop again. For Black people, Black people, we hear about revolutions in different places, like in Russia and places like that, but we hear about a Black revolution. This is especially empowering for us. When Black people, refuse, to be the instruments of somebody else becoming very, very wealthy, and us living in horrible conditions, and then when we see the improvements that came to the land through the revolution, this is a legacy that will continue to inspire and help us to grow as a people, and something that we will push, you dig, and we'll continue to make new revolutionaries, young brothers and sisters coming up. You ain't got to become no drug dealer, selling crack and stuff like that, but you can become an instrument. You become a very, very great actor, in the advancement of your people, for the love of your people, So I'm very, very inspired by the brother, you dig, and I'm very, very appreciative.
Absolutely, and we're appreciative in the way where we committed this episode to him. Please excuse my cough. I wanted to make this as perfect as possible. But I'm human, and those things are gonna happen. But Maurice Bishop, his example is beautiful, right? And I thought, one thing, when people make revolution and they educate their people, that's, to me, is genuine. It's genuine because you're allowing the people to understand that they need to be educated. You need to make education accessible, and you need to encourage them to be educated, because now you're educated. Now you can make decisions for yourself. Now you could have proper criticism of what's taking place. You're not going to be deceived. You're not going to be felt to. You're not going to be made to felt that you don't have no input. And I think that said a lot about him. That said a lot about the People's Revolutionary Government, and it's an example that we need to really take seriously, because we need to really take being politically educated something that we need to prioritize, right? Because there are a number of ideas that are circulating, but when you dissect them in terms of layers, then you start to get to the bottom line that they're not really about beneficial to the individual. I mean, to the collective, right? They're beneficial more to the individual. And that's one of the things that we have to think about. Think about the betrayal of the deputy prime minister that was responsible for assassinating Maurice Bishop and others. What was going on in his mind, right? What ideas did he represent, and only in the same way that Maurice Bishop did. So there is this idea. There are ideas that are beneficial to the collective, and there are ideas that are beneficial to the individual. And we have to make those distinctions, and we have to decide what side are we going to be on. Our martyrs and our revolutionaries always are on the side of the people. And that's what makes them who they are, right? Because they put in so much work, they committed diligently to the fight to advance their people, that they became a threat. So we have to honor them by organizing around their ideas. And when I say their ideas, when I say I'm talking about the martyrs as well as the political prisoner, right? What did they represent? What did they write? What were their speeches? And how are we utilizing that in our everyday life? And we should have a political life, because politics is everywhere and politics is in everything. We have to accept it, and if we don't accept it, then we're being negligent to our responsibility regarding our position in society and our relationship to our people. So there is a serious analysis that need to be conducted in our personal lives, and our personal lives need to be developed into a political life, because that's essential to our very survival. So Maurice Bishop, he understood that very well, and he committed himself to doing his work, organizing people, providing people with ideas that are reflective on their development. Because when your country is being exploited for so many years, you are going through a serious underdevelopment, and that is going to take time to get out of that. But you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to accept responsibilities, and you have to be willing to put in time, right? And now when we talk about time, we're making the distinction between what's really important and what's really not, because we live in a world of many distractions. And people like Maurice Bishop, I can only imagine his upbringing, right? He was born in 1944. And so this was a time where though technology in terms of how we communicate wasn't is what it is now, right? We have the internet, you have 1,000 different programs you could watch, you could easily be distracted. So he's born in May 29th, 1944. And just think about what was around at that time. So now you're forced to deal with what's going on, you know, and as he's growing up and he's dealing with his reality, his consciousness is developing to the point where he's saying, okay, I can't just be on the sideline. I can't wait for somebody to do this work. I got to do it myself. And that is the psyche of the martyrs. That is the psyche of the political prisoners. They accept that role. They accept responsibility because they love people. They love the people, the common people. And we have to respect them on that same level. So that's why when we put out episodes on martyrs and episodes on political prisoners, you know, our focus is on political prisoners. But today we're concluding this month with another
Martyrs, yeah.
October Martyrs, yeah. Right? But we understand our role and our responsibility. So if you're a teacher, take on that responsibility. Make sure you educate your students on people like Maurice Bishop, right? And if you're from Grenada, you definitely need to do that. I know the brother was saying that they have an airport named after Maurice Bishop, right?
Yeah, that's the one that they're constructing. You know, Reagan tried to say it was going to be a holding ground for Soviet troops, you know, which is ridiculous, had no evidence whatsoever. But they named it Maurice Bishop Airport.
And I think that's it. And so his name is always going to be amongst the people that he fought long and hard for.
ArcLawNet and Workers' World.
So now you're going to see, now you're going to start, you'll be inspired to learn more about him, to read about him, and you start hearing his quotations, right? As you start to be curious, because you're booking a flight to Grenada and you have to go through Maurice Bishop Airport. Mm-hmm. Now you say, oh, who was this man? And find out this man was a very strong and powerful man, and he committed so much of his life to the advancement of his people. And he did it because it needed to be done, because he was not comfortable with his the current situation of his people. So, as you were growing up, right? And I'm talking about when I say growing up politically, right? How did you relate to hearing about Maurice Bishop?
Well,
or what came to mind when you first learned about the story about Maurice Bishop?
Well, his love for the people, his dedication, his hard work, you know, and the positive results of putting oneself, you know, in a leadership position, you know, and also, you know, it's very, very heartbreaking when you see when one's comrade betrays them, you know. So there's
just like Thomas and Karen.
Yeah, so there's a lesson in that, in our people, you know, that is something that we got to get rid of that. You know, that thing about betraying our own people, you know, turning on our people, you know, we got to be true. We got to be trustworthy. You know, we can't be doing stuff like that. You know?
Absolutely. You know, like those, if you have a difference with a comrade, you know, that should be talked out. You should you should have confidence in your ability to exchange ideas, to be in a civil way. But you know, some people don't feel that way. Some people feel like they have to take things to the extreme.
And don't be bought out. I mean, you know, there can't be no price on your loyalty. You know, your enemy offering you a bribe, you know, to turn traitor against your people. You know, these are the diseases. You know, we talk about germs, the diseases. You know, these are things that we got to get out of. We got to wash ourselves, get that out of our politics. You know? Our politics got to be pure. Our politics got to be strong, fighting a warring politics. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and to know that through practicing true revolutionary principles that we can defeat the enemy. You know, all these negative aspects. You know, becoming a snitch, a traitor, a collaborator with the enemy. You know, giving up, quitting, all this type of stuff. You know, it's got to be forward ever, backwards never, in the spirit of Maurice Bishop.
Absolutely. So, you know, we're going to end this episode. We appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget the words of Maurice Bishop. Revolutionaries do not have the right to be cowards. We have to stand up to fight for our country because the country is ours. It does not belong to anybody else. So with those words, we say continue to fight for what is right. You know, this platform is about U.S. held political prisoners. So don't let our political prisoners die in prison. What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.